Hello students, in the last video we discussed about the first law of motion, that the Newton's first law of motion, and from there in the dynamics, to know the cause of motion, one of the physical quantity which is very much necessary, that is the force, and from that force we come across different applications of this Newton's first law of motion. To define that or to state the Newton's first law of motion by using that force concept, how we apply for different cases to know about the inertia or to know about the inertia of motion, inertia of rest and inertia of direction, that we have discussed in the last video. So here in the next, as I already told that we will discuss about the three laws of Newton's, that is the Newton's three laws of motion. First law already we have discussed. So before I go to the Newton's second law, there is another parameter or a physical quantity which is required or we should know about that physical quantity to understand the Newton's second law. So before I go to the Newton's second law, the one of the parameter, that physical quantity we should know is your linear momentum. Linear momentum. The meaning of writing this linear momentum means in the rotational motion we will discuss about this angular momentum. So that's why it generally written as linear momentum, or simply you can say also momentum. Okay. So what this momentum, before I start this momentum, let me cite an example. That suppose you are riding in your bicycle and there is a bus. Suppose the bicycle and bus both are moving with the same velocity. Both are moving with same velocity. Now, the bicycle and bus both are moving with the same velocity. To stop both of them, to the bicycle and bus, can we apply the same force to stop these two? It is not possible, right? If I apply the same force to the bicycle and bus, both will not stop at that same point. It means for this bicycle, to stop this bicycle, I need a small amount of force, whereas for the bus, I need a large force to stop that. Or we can say force is nothing but the push or pull, or we can say to stop that, we can push that bicycle or the bus to stop that. So both are moving the same velocity. This is the case, first example. Next, another case is that suppose both are the same bicycle, you are riding the same bicycle, but they are moving with a different velocity, or you can say speed, different velocity, or you can say that without considering the direction, you can say also speed. So both are moving with a different velocity. So now to stop that at the same position. So for different velocity, can I apply the same force to stop both of them at the same point? It's not possible, right? Because what? If the same force is applied, suppose this bicycle one has a larger velocity compared to this second one, then for this first one, to stop the first one, I have to apply a larger force, right? So the larger force for the first one, because suppose its speed or velocity is larger, and if its speed is smaller, then I need a smaller force. So with this example, now let me combine all these things. In the first example, what is the difference between these two objects, bicycle and bus? The mass is different, but velocity or speed is same. In the second example, both are of same mass, both are of the bicycles, but velocity is different. Velocity is different. So that means to stop both of them, bicycle or bus moving with same velocity, or to same bicycles moving with different velocities, we need different force to stop that, or to change the velocity, or to make any changes in the motion. If you combine all these things, what is the thing that actually decide how much of force is required to stop that or to change the velocity? That quantity is nothing but, that physical quantity is nothing but your linear momentum. Means the effect of the motion, the effect of the motion of the bodies depends both its mass and velocity. So the effect of motion of both the bodies, or in a body, the effect of motion of a body depends on the mass and its velocity. So from that conclusion, we got that there is a quantity, that is the motion contained in the body, or the motion possessed by the body, that is called as your linear momentum. That is called as your linear momentum. Okay, and this linear momentum obviously depends on the mass and the velocity. So from that we can say, or you can define this linear momentum. Means in the bicycle and bus, as both are moving with the same velocity but their mass is different, so I need, means that in the two cases the motion possessed by these two bodies are different. So to state that the linear momentum, we can state this linear momentum is like that, is the quantity, linear momentum of a body is the quantity of motion, is the quantity of motion possessed, quantity of motion possessed by the body. Linear momentum of a body is the quantity of motion possessed by the body, right? So you will complete the sentence. I am writing only this part, quantity of motion possessed by the body, and obviously this momentum depends on mass and velocity of the body. So it depends on the, depends upon the mass and velocity of the body, velocity of the body. And how it depends? It depends like it is proportional to the mass, the linear momentum, that is simply we can represent by the letters P. So the linear momentum of the body is proportional to the mass, and also it is proportional to the velocity. It is proportional to the velocity. So larger is the velocity, larger is the momentum, and larger is the mass, larger is the momentum for the same velocity or a constant velocity. So if you combine all these things, we can write, by combining these two, I can write this P is equal to mass into velocity, and the constant of proportionality is obviously that we will consider is 1. By the choosing the system of unit, we will consider the constant of proportionality as 1. So simply I can write the momentum of a body is equal to the mass into velocity, or the product of mass and velocity of the body. So from there, after knowing this P is equal to mv, the momentum represents P and m is the mass of the body and moving with a velocity v. So in this phase, as mass is a scalar quantity but velocity is a vector quantity, so a scalar multiplied with a vector, then the result will be a vector. So my linear momentum is a vector quantity. So linear momentum is a vector quantity. So you can write like in a vector form. And if it is a vector quantity, then what is its direction? Its direction is along the direction of velocity, along the direction of velocity, along the direction of velocity, right? Then what the units in SI? In SI, this is the kg, mass is kg, multiplied with velocity, and velocity in SI is meter second inverse or second minus 1. So kg meter second to the power minus 1 or kg meter per second. In CGS, we can write gram cm second inverse, gram cm into second inverse. That is the in CGS. And what is the dimension? Already you know the dimension. How we will calculate the dimensions? The dimensions are kg means m1, meter length L1, time -1, so t -1. So this is the dimension of this linear momentum. Okay. So this is the definition, this is the formula, and these are the units and dimension of this linear momentum. Now from this linear momentum concept, let me show some of the cases in this linear momentum. So I got this linear momentum P is equal to mass into velocity like this. The magnitude of linear momentum is mass into velocity. And from this expression, it is the product of mass and velocity. First case 1, I will consider this as suppose two bodies are moving with different velocity. Two bodies moving with different velocities. And of same mass. Two bodies of different velocities and of same mass. Then for the first one, the momentum I can write P1 is equal to m v1, and for second the momentum P2 is equal to mass, same mass means m into v2. So if you write P1 by P2, divide these two, P1 by P2, that will give me as V1 by V2. Means from here we can say that the P is directly proportional to V for constant m. If the mass is constant, then the linear momentum is proportional to the velocity or speed of the body. And from here you can say that for two bodies, for comparison, if in this case if V1 velocity of first body is greater than V2, then P1 is greater than P2. As V1 is greater than V2, then P1 should be greater than P2, because P1 by P2 is equal to V1 by V2, or P is proportional to V for constant mass for two bodies for comparison purpose. Now from here what is got that if two bodies of same mass, then they are moving with different velocity, then their momentum is different, and from that the velocity, the larger the velocity, the larger is the momentum of the body. Larger the velocity, larger is the momentum, or smaller the velocity, smaller is the momentum. Okay. So this is the case 1. If you plot a graph for P and V, then also you can say it is proportional. So momentum versus the velocity for a constant m, it will be a straight line passing because it is proportional. For proportional, the nature of the curve will be a straight line. Okay. For constant m, m is equal to constant. Okay. Then next we will go for the second case. The two bodies moving with same velocities and of different mass. I am making the corrections here already. So case 2, same velocities and of different mass. Then obviously the momentum will be different. So P1 is equal to m1 v, same velocity or speed. P2 is equal to m2 into v. So if you divide this P1 by P2, that v get cancelled. So I will get m1 by m2. Check what are the corrections I am making here. m1 by m2. So from here also you can say P1 is proportional to m1, P2 is proportional to m2, provided the velocity is constant. So P is proportional to V for constant V. If the mass of body is m1 is greater than the mass of the body m2, then P1 is obviously greater than P2. It is also proportional. So momentum is proportional to mass, means larger is the mass, the motion or the motion contained in the body will be larger. Okay, so larger is the mass, then the momentum contained in the body will be larger. Then again another parameter, if you show this one in a graph, it is proportional, means for m constant in this part, for m constant it is also a straight line, and this proportional to mass, that will give you the nature of the graph will be a straight line. So this is the second one. From here we can say that heavier the mass, larger is the linear momentum. Then now if you go for the case 3, so this is something different. Two bodies of different velocity and different mass, different velocities and different mass, but same momentum, same momentum means same momenta, in plural it is momenta, same momenta. Then P is equal to m1 v1 and P2 is equal to m2 v2. Mass is m2 and the velocity of second one is v2, first one is m1 and v1. So P, so if you write like this, then as P is equal to m1 v1 and P is equal to m2 v2, so I can write m1 v1 is equal to m2 v2. So m1 by m2 is equal to v2 by v1. So for the same momenta of two bodies, larger is the mass. So here if I can say m1 is greater than m2, if the mass of m1 is greater than m2, then m1 is greater than m2, then v2 is greater than v2 is greater than v1. It means larger is the mass of the body for same momenta, larger is the mass of the velocity, smaller is the velocity. So m1 here velocity is smaller, or smaller the mass of the body, then the velocity is larger. So that is the conclusion. And here also you can say it is inversely, m1 here it is v1, so it is inversely. So for inversely, the nature of the graph will be, if you plot that, the mass, velocity, then it will be like your case. Okay, so it is a parabolic in nature, it is inversely. Okay, so from there we can get the different graphs or the nature of the graphs, and for different cases in linear momentum. So with this discussion, I think that we got a clear idea about this linear momentum. And what this linear momentum? It is the motion possessed by a body or the motion contained in the body. Larger is the mass, larger is the momentum, larger is the velocity, larger is the linear momentum. So with this idea, now we will switch over to the second law of Newton, that is the Newton's second law of motion. So now we will go for the Newton's second law of motion. So what this Newton's second law of motion states? This law states that, first let me write the statement. The law states that, the law states that the rate of change of linear momentum, the rate means time rate, the rate of change of linear momentum of a body is directly proportional to the applied, or you can say external force. That meaning is applied or external force while writing. So I will discuss that thing. The rate of change of linear momentum of a body is directly proportional to the applied force or external force, and the change takes place, in the direction of applied force. Okay. And remember students, while you are writing a law or while you are stating a law, it should be in the language what is given in your books or what is provided by the lawmaker. So don't put your language while stating the laws. So the law states that the rate of change of linear momentum, it means the time rate of change of linear momentum of a body is directly proportional to the applied force, and the change takes place. Change means the change of linear momentum takes place in the direction of the applied force. In what direction the applied force is given, in that direction the change in momentum takes place. That means the change takes place means the change in momentum takes place in the direction of the applied force. That is the Newton's second law of motion. If dp, as it is the time rate of change, so rate of change means change of linear momentum, p is the linear momentum and dp is the change in momentum. So let dp is the, and p is obviously a vector quantity, so I can put a vector symbol. So let dp is the change in linear momentum, change in linear momentum of a body in a time dt, in small time interval dt, change in linear momentum of a body in time dt due to the application of an external force, or that is the applied force. So why you have taken this applied force means when we say that this is a body and the molecules inside the body, they applied the force in between them, and there is an internal force inside the body. So in this case the body is at rest, means there is no change in momentum, means mass and velocity both are same, but there is a force in between the intermolecular forces. So that is the internal force. We are not concerned with this internal force. Here the meaning is that the applied force means it should be an external force, not the internal force of this body. It is a combination of molecules. Each molecule exerts force in between them, already we know that. So there is an intermolecular force of attraction, but that force is not considered here. What is the force applied here? What is the force we will consider? The applied force that we should consider while stating this Newton's second law of motion. That's why I am writing this applied force or the external force. And if dp is the change in linear momentum of a body in time dt due to the application of an external force, and what the law states that due to the application of an external force, suppose F, then according to this law the rate of change of linear momentum, so we can say F is proportional to dp by dt, the rate of change of linear momentum, or dp by dt is proportional to the applied force or the external force. Or you can write this is F equal to k dp by dt with vector, and here also the k, constant of proportionality, k is the constant of proportionality, which is always considered as 1 in proper systems of unit. So k is always 1 here. So if k is equal to 1, then the law can be written as F equal to dp by dt. So this is the law. From here, what this change in momentum gives, the rate of change of momentum gives or produces in the body, that we can extend this law. Because of this change in momentum, actually what happens in the body, that we can find from this second law. Let me extend this F equal to dp by dt. Now from here the second law gives me F equal to the applied external force, F equal to dp, the rate of change of linear momentum. This is the rate of change of linear momentum. As we know, if m is the mass of a body, if m is the mass of a body moving with velocity v, then the linear momentum p is equal to mass into velocity. If we put that here, F is equal to d by dt into m into b, and this can be written as F equal to, and it is a product form. I can write like this as F is equal to derivative of u into b, so derivative of u into b plus b into derivative of u. Sorry, b means there is derivative u, so I can write this as m dv by dt, right? First derivative of first into second plus first into derivative of the second. As we know, as the mass of a body is constant so long as it is in a non-relativistic motion, so long as it is a non-relativistic motion. So in non-relativistic motion we will discuss in our second race also. Non-relativistic motion means so long as the particle velocity is not comparable or not so much high which is can be comparable to the velocity of light. Then in that case what happens, if a body is moving with a velocity comparable to the velocity of light, its mass is not a constant factor. So that mass is called as your relativistic mass. But here the Newton's second law of motion or Newton's laws are not applicable to relativistic particles or relativistic masses. So here, so on that concept, as the body is not at a so high velocity whose velocity changing the velocity or because of the large velocity the mass is not changing. So as m is constant, so the derivative of a constant is 0. So this factor gives me 0. dm by dt is equal to 0. So obviously I will get F is equal to m dv by dt. So what is the rate of change of velocity? dv by dt, that is the acceleration produced in the body, or I can write F is equal to m into a, where a is the acceleration of the body, acceleration produced in the body or acceleration of the body. Clear? So this is the Newton's second law. This is also from the Newton's second law. So that is F is equal to ma. So from there, if I write that in a component form, what is the use of this component? So we got that from the Newton's second law. With this derivation, we got that F is equal to dv by dt, which is equal to ma, mass into acceleration. That we got. And if I write in component forms, because these are the vector quantities, mass is a scalar, but the force, linear momentum, acceleration, these are the vector quantities. So we can write this in a component form in x-axis, y-axis, z-axis, or three rectangular component form. Suppose I write this F has three components, fx along x-axis multiplied with I cap, unit vector along I cap, plus fy j cap plus fz k cap. So I cap, j cap, k cap are the three rectangular unit vectors along x-axis, y-axis, z-axis. Already we discussed about this thing. Similarly, the linear momentum also px I cap plus py j cap plus pz k cap. Similarly, this acceleration a is equal to ax I cap, ay j cap, az k cap. It means this ax, ay, az are the components of the acceleration a along x-axis, along y-axis, along z-axis. By putting all these things in this expression, what we will get? Fx I cap plus fy j cap plus fz k cap is equal to d by dt of px I cap plus py j cap plus pz k cap, that is equal to m into ax I cap plus ay j cap plus az k cap. Now on both sides, if you equate the components of I cap, j cap and k cap, then what we will get? By equating the components of I cap, j cap, k cap, what we will get? I can write this as fx is equal to what this one? D by px by dt. So derivative of px by dt, right? dpx by dt, which must be equal to max. These are the, in all the three, the components of I cap. Similarly, fy is equal to dpy by dt, that is equal to may. Similarly, fz equal to dpz by dt is equal to maz. So this is the force in terms of its component form. So the meaning of writing this in component form means what? The meaning is that when we write this component form, so what this meaning actually? Let us consider a body moving with a, suppose this is a body moving with a velocity v in this direction. And if I apply a force in this direction, so it means that this force has a number of components, as you know how to split a vector, how to get the components. So the velocity in this direction and f is like this. So from the Newton's second law, what we got? From this Newton's second law, we got that the force is applied at some angle with the velocity, right? So from here what we got, if the velocity is along this direction, if we apply a force, what it will make the body? The momentum, the linear momentum of the body will obviously change with respect to time according to Newton's law. According to Newton's second law, if I apply a force, it will change the linear momentum of the body. It change the linear momentum of the body means the mass of the body will never change. Because of this force, the mass of the body will never change, right? Because we are discussing only the what? The relativistic, non-relativistic concept. So the mass is not changing. What will change it? It will change the velocity. So if it will change the velocity while writing this component form means it change the velocity along the direction of the applied force. Means now you can ask me, if this angle is theta, what is the component of V along this applied force? What is the component of V along this applied force? V cos theta. Means this force change this component along the direction of the applied force. Means this component changes while writing this component form. Means to understand this means if a force is applied along this direction, suppose Fx, then it will change the momentum. Means your mass is constant, the velocity changes only in the x direction. Means in what direction the force is applied, because mass is a constant. That is the meaning of writing this Newton's second law in component form. Okay. So with this we got the idea about this Newton's second law of motion, and the formula we got that. Okay students, now I will tell you one thing, that the Newton's first law gives us the qualitative definition of force, and the Newton's second law gives us the quantitative definition of force. Right? Because in the Newton's second law we can say that force is that agent or that physical quantity which changes the motion or the motion in a straight line or the state of rest of a body. But in this second law you can say, by using this second law, the force, we can find the what is the quantity of force applied on a body to change the acceleration or to change the momentum with respect to time. That we can find from this Newton's second law. So that is the point, is the Newton's second law gives us the quantitative definition of force. Okay. Now after that, as I already told that force is a vector quantity. Now we come to the again this force. Already we have defined this force. Now here by this second law, F is equal to, I will consider this name m into a, and force is a vector quantity. It is a vector quantity. So it is a vector quantity. And the force is a vector quantity means its direction is along the direction of acceleration, means the change in velocity with respect to time. Along that direction the force acts, that is the rate of change of momentum. So in what direction the velocity changes, that is the direction of force. Remember students, don't take that the direction of velocity, the direction of force, that is wrong. The change in that velocity in what direction, that rate of change of velocity, that will give you the direction of force. Remember, the velocity direction does not give you the direction of force, because the force can be opposite to the velocity or in the direction of velocity, or it may be 0 or it has no direction, but it will always in the direction in which the velocity changes, that will give you the direction of force. Okay. Now after that, now we will go for the unit part. That is most important thing, the unit. In this force, as the force can be in our earth system, the force can be a gravitational force or the force of gravity because of earth, and the force can be applied by you, me, or by any other object. If the earth applied a force, that is called as the gravitational force or force of gravity. If any other body applied a force, that is the absolute force. So accordingly, the force has two units, two ways of unit. One is the absolute unit. One is the absolute unit. So what is this absolute unit? The absolute unit, we can say that an absolute unit of force is the force, an absolute unit of force, an absolute unit of force is the force, in absolute unit, the absolute unit of force is the force which produces a unit acceleration, which produces a unit acceleration in a body of unit mass. Okay. Absolute unit of force is the force which produces a unit acceleration in a body of unit mass. So it has only again two ways we can say that, in SI and in CGS. In SI and in CGS. In absolute unit, if we define the force in SI, then as F is equal to ma in SI, an absolute unit of force is that which produces a unit acceleration. So unit acceleration means 1 meter per second square in a body of unit mass. So 1 kg, because we are discussing in SI. So 1 kg into 1 meter per second square. So that is equal to 1 kg meter second minus 2 to the power minus 2. That is in SI, or simply you can write this as 1 Newton. That is the. So how we will define this 1 Newton? 1 Newton is the force which produces a acceleration of 1 meter per second square in a body of mass 1 kg. So 1 Newton is that much of force which produces an acceleration of 1 meter per second square in a body of mass 1 kg. That is the definition of 1 Newton. Remember, that may be a question, define 1 Newton. Means 1 Newton is how much? Means a 1 kg body, if move with an acceleration of 1 meter per second square, then how much force is applied on the body? That is your 1 Newton. Similarly, CGS also, as mass, because F is equal to ma, mass will be in CGS is gram, so that should be 1 gram. In the body of acceleration 1 cm per second square or cm second to the power minus 2. Okay. So in this way, if you define that 1 gram cm second minus 2, that is called as 1 dyne. That is your 1 dyne. So how you can define this 1 dyne? 1 dyne is that much of force, that amount of force which produces an acceleration of 1 cm per second square in a body of mass 1 gram. In the same way we will define, right? So that is the definition of 1 Newton and 1 dyne. And from here, if we find the relation between 1 Newton and dyne, as you already know that 1 Newton is equal to 10 to the power 5 dyne. How we calculate? As already you derived that from your dimensional analysis. I will not go for again in detail about this derivation part. Or you can define this also 1 Newton or 1 10 to the 5 in kg, convert that kg to gram, convert the meter to second. Then if you multiply, then you will get 1 Newton is equal to 10 to the power 5 dyne. Clear? Then this is the first part. Then as I already told, if the force is applied by anybody other than earth, then that is in absolute unit. If the force is because of earth, then the gravity comes into play. So if the gravity comes into play, then the unit will be a gravitational unit. So the unit will be a gravitational unit. The second unit is the gravitational unit. Gravitational unit. Okay. So the second one is, let me write here. The second unit is the gravitational unit. Second. So what is this gravitational unit? As earth applied the force, means if earth applied on a force, means what comes into play? The body will move with a unit acceleration or something else. The body acceleration will be considered as a g, acceleration due to gravity. Because if earth applied a body, this is the body, if earth applied the force, then what is the acceleration produced in this body? The acceleration will be equal to, we are considering this acceleration as a acceleration due to gravity. So that is a g. So by that, if you find this gravitational unit, so what is this gravitational unit? The gravitational unit, we can say that the unit, or here also we can define that as the gravitational unit of force, gravitational unit of force is that force which produces an acceleration equal to g, that is the acceleration due to gravity. I am not writing about all these things. An acceleration equal to g in a body of unit mass. In a body of unit mass. So here the acceleration in the unit acceleration is replaced by acceleration due to gravity. That changes the absolute unit to gravitational unit. That you have to remember. So in that case again, the case one in SI, if you find that in SI, then now you see here F is equal to ma, but here this F is equal to becomes m into g. Consider the magnitude part, F equal to m into g, because here acceleration changes to g. So in that way, if m is 1 kg and g is 9.8 meter per second square, 9.8 meter per second square. So that can be written as this is equal to what? 9.8 kg meter per second square. What is that kg meter per second square? Newton. So 9.8 Newton. So how we will say that F in this case mg, that can simply written as kg force or kg weight. That can simply written as kg force or kg weight. What is that kg force or kg weight? That 1 kg force or kg weight, that is equal to 9.8 Newton. Only the difference is what here? The g factor is the difference. So now you can see define this in SI. The gravitational unit of force is kg force. So in some numericals you will get a unit of kg force, or simply it is kgf or kg weight. That meaning is kg force and kg weight, and this is the unit of force in gravitational unit and in SI. So here again if you define 1 kg force, means what? 1 kg force is that much of force which produces an acceleration equal to 9.8 meter per second square in a body of 1 kg. That is the SI. Similarly in the CGS part, in CGS this can be written as kg replaced by gram, and here gram force or gram weight. That you can write gram force or gram weight. If you are taking gram force and gram weight, then it is CGS, then obviously this will be changes to what? Here 1 gram force, that should be equal to F is equal to mg, though it is CGS, so m should be 1 gram, and F, that is the g factor, that is 980 cm per second square, that is in CGS. So if you multiply that, this is equal to 980 gram cm per second square. What is this gram cm second square? That is dyne. So this is equal to 980 dyne. So 1 gram force is equal to 980 dyne. Again this 980 is the value of g in CGS system. So g factor changes. And remember one thing, the absolute unit is always constant, it does not vary from place to place, but the gravitational unit varies from place to place because it depends on the factor, that is your g. And as we know, the acceleration due to gravity is constant factor in the surface of earth where we are considering, but as we go high above the surface of earth or below the surface of earth, the value of g changes. That we will discuss in gravitation. It is not always constant. So accordingly the gravitational unit also changes. Okay. So from this all this discussion we got the definitions of this force, and that gives you the quantitative definition. From that quantitative definition, what are the units of force? Now students, from here what are the consequences or what are the outcomes of the Newton's second law? The outcomes of this Newton's second law is that if you discuss F is equal to ma. If the body has mass but the acceleration produced in a body is 0, if A is equal to 0, then F is equal to 0. Means if a body is there and if there is no change in acceleration, or if the acceleration in the body is 0, not change, if the acceleration of the body is 0, then we can say no force is applied on the body. It means, other thing is that acceleration is 0. It means what? The body is moving with uniform velocity. The body is moving with uniform velocity. The body is moving with uniform velocity means if a body is in uniform velocity, then we can say that if the body is in the path, it is in a uniform velocity, then we can say that no force is applied anywhere. No force is applied anywhere on the body. So that we can say that the important implications of this Newton's second law. And another thing is that acceleration is 0 means the body is in uniform velocity, there is no change in velocity, and accordingly if there is no change in velocity, there is no force is applied. With this discussion, okay students, we go or we will discuss about the linear momentum and Newton's second law of motion. Thank you.